Alright, bitches. What's shaking bacon? Alright, as we can see here, now we are going to make one last video. Hopefully this will be the only video. I've already tried doing this 2 or 3 times and ran out of battery power and all that. Alright. 67 F100. I'm looking to swap the seats. This is what the old crappy seats look like. These are actually probably very nice. They were recently done probably in the 80s or 90s. My guess in the 90s. But the material dry rotted from the sun. This truck sat for a lot of years. This seat right here comes from a 1995 F350 4-door. What I've done here is I removed the lock rings from the sides. You're going to want to pull this screw out. There's supposed to be a screw back here. However, there was no screw on either side on this one, so either little Billy, who's in charge of doing that in the factory, didn't do it. A lot of this is just dirt and grime, but it'll wipe down. And didn't put those in, is my guess. You take them both out, and I just pulled this thing out, and both sides there was no screw up in there, so, or if there was, it ripped right out. Either way, this will go right back in real easy. But you take that out, and then you take out this bolt right here. It's a 5/8 bolt, I believe, and these two little rings come right out. Second thing, when doing the F100, F150, at least 67 through 96 should be the same. Maybe other years further back, but it's basically the same. What you're looking at is the rails bolt up at the same point. However, the difference between the two, at least in my situation, I don't know what the ones in the 70s and the 80s are going to be like. Hold on, let me flip this up, because I'm working by myself here. In the 67, there is these square studs that are press fit into the rails. And here, let me turn this down, because nobody needs to listen to Ziggy Pockets, except for me. Anyway, who wants to know about fucking drugs and drinking and methamphetamine and shit, right? And I've been honing this meth look for years, even though I don't do drugs in any way. But digression, once again. So anyway, on the new seat, there were actually threaded holes for, looks like a 5/16 bolt or something like that. So all I did was took a 5/16 drill bit, blew out the holes, took out the threads, took about 5 seconds on each end. I mean, just 2 seconds here. Knocked them out. Although on the one side I had to actually oblong the hole a little bit with the drill bit, kind of work it. Otherwise the studs wouldn't quite go in. They were a little too tight. Oblonged them a little bit, tapped it with a hammer, went right in. I took this opportunity to make an adjustment on the cable. The 67 actually has a turnbuckle, allowing you to adjust the tension on this cable, which actuates the release for the slide on the passenger side. You want to have it just to have no tension, but no slop when it's fully recessed into the grooves. All right. On this, the reason why I did it this way, which we're drilling the holes out instead of putting the bolts in, is you can't get the stud out right here without, if you cut a window in here, you could knock it out and then mount it up the same, and it'd probably be faster. I just actually reached inside here with a wrench. I found that the ratcheting wrench, this is a 13, even though it's really a 1/2, but who fucking cares. Either way, this ratcheting wrench worked the best. If you get one with the pivoting head, it'd work even better. So anyway, that's pretty much all it is. This thing's a straight direct bolt in. The other option you have, if you wanted to, is with the new seat, or with the new seats, if you left the rails and didn't want to dick around with it, rather than making a direct or a super direct bolt in, you'd have to cut, because as you can see, this mounting thing is angled down. The distance between these holes is still the same, but there's only one on each end, instead of on the older vehicle, which has 2 in the front, 2 in the back. However, the spacing between them from end to end, crisscross, is identical. What you'd have to do is you'd cut this, bend this in, stitch weld it up, and I was seriously willing to do this. I've done this. I've put seats in from other vehicles many times, so it's not a big deal to me. The other part is you can only use, those bolt holes would be here in the center here, so you'd have to move the seat completely towards the driver door or towards the passenger door and use the outside bolt holes on one end and the inside bolt holes on the other, and just have it bolted in with 4 bolts. I would suggest you then put a bolt into the other holes just to not have a hole in your floorboard. Water and all that crap, I don't really care. I opted to switch the rails because slightly higher degree of difficulty, but not really. And now it's just a matter of flopping this bad boy in here, bolting it down with the 4 bolts that it came with, or 8 bolts, whatever, and enjoying my new comfy seat. Although, while this seat actually looks very nice, I don't particularly like the headrests, but you know. So that's the modifications you needed in this. If you had bought one from a non-4-door truck, or this applies to the 4-door truck or the single cab, no back seat F150s from 96 or whatever, because they don't have the seat that flips up. That's why you got to remove this. The ones with a back seat that it flips forward, you might actually be able to get just a nice split seat. I did not look into what's involved with doing a split seat because I didn't want that. But those all flip forward, and when you get one that flips forward, you don't have to remove those brackets, and it automatically does it. The only reason I need it to flip forward is because this fucking Jackie Rabbity shenanigans I got right here. Don't even ask why it looks the way it does. It does. This is for a dual fuel tank setup that I have on this truck. So that's a unique situation for me, so I needed the seat to fold forward. Another issue you're going to run into is the seat belts. These seat belts heads are much too large to fit through these holes. They're not going to fit. There's some hard plastic piece inserts in there, so I had to take them off the floor, and then I'm going to set the seat in here, feed these through, bolt the seat belts down, then slide the seat back into place and bolt it into its original location. So hopefully this helps somebody at some point in time. Once again, peace out, bitches.